Do you know anything about how whale sharks reproduce themselves? Can males carry offspring? How does the Port Jackson shark come into the world? What's hermit crab's life difficult for? You'll learn the answers to these and many other questions from this episode. Today, I'll tell you about the reproduction of sea creatures. And we're going to start with the whale shark. It's the largest shark species in existence and also the largest of modern fish. It's believed that its maximum size reaches at least 40 feet. Perhaps there are individuals with a length of 60 feet and even 65 feet. Of course, such giants could not have their birth peculiarities that we'll talk about a little later. For now, let's see what this shark does. So, with a record size, the whale shark, in contrast to our most sophisticated fantasies, is not in a hurry to devour everything and everyone in its path. It lives quite well, eating only plankton. Our hero is not a predator. The whole meaning of its life is only to incessantly prowl the oceans and ignore everybody passing by. And really, what's the point to attack anyone if there will be no fight in any case? The other fish are physically unable to do anything to it. The whale shark is too big, too strong, and too unapproachable. I also think it's a bit obsessed with murders. The creature thought it was too boring to kill one species for lunch, so it started attacking plankton, devouring thousands of organisms every day. No matter how you look at it, the bottomless mouth, studded with countless teeth, is used for this purpose. Scientists have made rough calculations and said that this giant pumps through itself about 212,000 cubic feet of water per hour. Fish and krill caught in its mouth can no longer escape. The cunning shark has grown bars on the gills, turning its mouth into a real prison for millions of living creatures that will never break out of. The only option to leave the whale shark's body is to die by rubbing against its teeth and die. Fortunately, that's not all the scientists have learned. They've also determined that inside this mother, there's a whole offspring factory. A whale shark can have up to 300 eggs at a time, and these creatures successfully practice egg laying. Thus, all these capsules with offspring remain inside a female until they're born into the world. At birth, small sharks have a very small size, about 1.6 feet. However, they're full of useful and nutritious substances. Thanks to this, young whale sharks do without external sources of food for a long time. And also, they almost immediately become more than a match to the majority of underwater predators. The fact is that in the first time after birth, they'll be at least 1.6 feet in length. Moreover, such dimensions will remain with them for a short time. Small whale sharks grow very quickly, about 0.2 inches every day. Port Jackson shark. This is the name of another interesting shark that you and I are about to talk about. Before you ask, it's very different from any other shark you've ever seen, and it's not about size, as in the case of the whale shark. It's not even about the way of life. The main differences are, of course, its appearance and the principle of its birth. Take it from me, this is something you've never seen before. The Port Jackson shark is not the smallest creature that's found at a depth of up to 900 feet and can grow up to 5.5 feet in length. Yes, it's far from record-breaking size, but none of the other sharks can boast such a wide range of features. For example, this unusual jaw. Monstrous crusher consists of two types of teeth. The first are smaller and sharper and are used by the shark to grab prey. The second teeth, or side teeth, are a little further away, have a flattened shape, and are used to pulverize food. Thanks to a similar mechanism, predators have no problem enjoying barnacles, crabs, gastropod mollusks, sea urchins, and other Echinidae. But it's one thing to be able to fight an enemy, it's quite another to be able to find him. The Port Jackson shark does this with the aid of its excellent eyesight, amazing sense of smell, and of course, electroreception. Due to this, they hunt in the middle of the night. During the day, these sharks climb into secluded caves with a sandy bottom. Up to 16 at a time can gather in the most attractive havens. I can imagine the face of a creature who accidentally swims into such a place. They're also poisonous. Yes, not as much as you might have imagined, but still. Poison is contained in two small spikes at the leading edge of the dorsal fins. They're very small and inconspicuous, but if you hurt yourself on them, it'll be bad. The venom has a slight paralyzing effect, which helps sharks in their defense against predators. Meanwhile, it's slowly coming to procreation. The Port Jackson shark couldn't afford to practice egg-laying, so it started producing shells. Her egg capsules are brown, spiral-shaped formations 6 inches long. Such a tricky thing is needed to keep future babies from drifting around the ocean. As soon as labor is over, females hide their offspring deeper in the sand, between crevices and rocks, and wait. The incubation period usually lasts 10 to 12 months. During this period, about 90% of the young are killed. If the shark was lucky enough to stay alive, it will try to gather with brethren in a small group, and then as they mature, they'll go their own way. 8 years must go by so that they would start a family and reproduce themselves. It's funny that although these creatures are famous for such an unusual and at the same time inefficient method of reproduction, their population is not threatened. That's because people don't hunt them. The next creature we're going to talk about also lives underwater, and you all know it very well. The seahorse is the fish that simply cannot be confused with anyone else. Its unusual body shape resembles a chess piece of a horse. Numerous long spines and ribbon-like leathery growths located on the body make the skate visible among algae and inaccessible to predators. Our guest is not a simple but a spiny seahorse, a fish with extra armor that does not prevent them from surviving in any way. These creatures are usually from 6 inches to 6.5 inches in length. They still rest among the algae at a depth of 65 feet because it's there that their stealth system is 100% effective. Although these spindle-shaped bodies and spiny fins are not suitable for high-speed swimming, in the eyes of predators they look as inedible as some other algae. So the spiny seahorses survive. What's interesting is that each population of spiny seahorses has its own coloration, formed through evolution based on the terrain where they live. This seems great, but then there's its own downside. For the same reasons, traveling anywhere is not recommended for the spiny seahorse. Camouflage is only active when it's not moving. The seahorse sticks to one particular place and, with the help of his eyes, carefully tracks down the prey. The menu of this handsome guy includes everything that will get into its mouth. That is, for the most part, small crustaceans, which are brought by the current. After finding a potential meal, the horse sharply sucks up the water together with the unfortunate crustacean. Naturally, this is not the only thing that the spiny seahorse can surprise. It also has a rather unusual way of reproduction. Firstly, it's the female, not the male, who searches for a mate. After meeting the first guy, the lady shoves the male's eggs into the underbelly. The future father probably does not expect this, but gets used to it very soon and fertilizes the cargo handed to him. Surprisingly, the body of male seahorses does the same things as the body of a female. On the one hand, the seahorse fry get a lot of nutrients along with the yolk contained in the mother's eggs. But on the other hand, the father's pouch has evolved to provide nutrients to the offspring, protect them from pathogens, provide oxygen, and remove waste products. After fertilization, the mother disappears and the father is left alone with his small ones. When the period of birth comes, the male will literally shoot his offspring, and no, this is not done for a celebratory effect. This kind of method helps the young seahorses release themselves from the shell of the eggs. The seahorse we talked about earlier gives life to hundreds, if not thousands of creatures at once during the process of birth. For many people, this will seem something unique. But take it from me, it's a common thing for nature. After all, in addition to seahorses, there are also yellow-headed jawfish, fish with one of the most unusual processes of giving birth to offspring. First things first. This handsome creature grows up to 5 inches in length and with such dimensions does not hurry to show himself to other stronger fish. Boldness is clearly not his best trait because the yellow-headed jawfish frowns at any, even the smallest shadow. This fish believes that there's no point in crawling somewhere outside because there's almost everything you need for a happy life where you are. Those are small bottom crustaceans as food and a beautifully arranged dwelling. The only thing that can lure this homebody out of its abode is new building materials. Scientists have noticed that the yellow-headed jawfish regularly leaves his home when seeing no enemies on the horizon. He swims away and begins to collect some new twigs, stones, shells, and other beauty. Nothing and no one is able to break this idyll except for another jawfish settling in the vicinity. In this case, the individuals start fighting for territory. And it's funny how these fights usually look like. One fish destroys what the other has built. They're outlaws. By its 10th month of life, the fish becomes sexually mature. This means it's time to think about the continuation of the line. You might think that the yellow-headed jawfish, obsessed with his house, will not pay the due attention to his offspring. In fact, it's not so. He'll even allocate a separate room to them. Only not in the house, but right in his mouth. The male responsible for raising the fry puts them in his mouth and keeps them there until they're ready for a full life. Interestingly, the caring father even keeps his small ones at the best possible temperature. If they're hot, he can spit them out and immediately suck them back in before they scatter. What's not a candidate for Father of the Year? Hermit crab. Many people have heard about this sea creature, but I think not everyone knows what exactly this crayfish is famous for. Let's start with the fact that these creatures live in the intertidal zone in shallow seas at a depth of up to 260 feet. Some adults are able to leave the aquatic environment for a long time, returning only during the breeding season. In total, about 800 species have been described, most of which use shells as shelter. Speaking of shells, hermit crabs do not naturally have them from birth. They're abandoned mollusk houses that the crayfish took to themselves and began to use as a defense. The body of these creatures very easily and simply repeats the curls of any shape. So, placing themselves in the shell for them is not a problem. Moreover, when the hermit crab feels danger, it can completely hide in the shell, while additionally blocking the entrance with a thick claw. In general, shells in their world is a real treasure they're ready to give anything for. If a crab sees a perfectly sized shell in front of him, but there's still a snail inside, he'll do everything in his power to drive it away. The same fate will befall his fellow hermit if he gets in the way. The hermits mercilessly mug each other in pursuit of living space. The only period when they're not so aggressive and angry is, of course, the mating period. Moreover, the combination of hermit crabs does not happen as you would think. They don't throw off those heavy shackles and indulge in love. Everything's pretty conservative and stiff in their world. The males simply secrete their genetic material into a separate pouch and hand it to the females. After the female takes advantage of all this goodness, she lays her eggs inside her shell. One might think that the hermit crab begins to take care of the offspring, raising them and guarding them from enemies. In general, yes, this is true, but only for the period when the cubs have not yet hatched. Once they open their eyes, the mother immediately kicks them out and wishes them good luck in surviving. Stickleback. You will not believe that these creatures got their name because of the 3 spikes located in front of the dorsal fin. The length of the body of these fish usually does not exceed 4.7 inches. They weigh about 1/10 of an ounce. It seems that this is the most common small fish that's not so easy to surprise. However, its private life is not like anyone else's. It all starts with the males that find a suitable territory for themselves and begin to settle. After making sure there are no suspicious individuals, future fathers build a kindergarten that on average takes 5 to 8 hours. By the way, do you know how to realize that the breeding season's open? The eyes of these fish change in color and become bright blue. So we've understood how to distinguish a male from a female. A blue-eyed male builds a house for future offspring and immediately begins to attract females. Interestingly, he attracts pregnant females. The males reject all the others. If the chosen one reciprocates, the beau directs her to his dwelling where she lays up to 300 eggs. As soon as this happens, the future father immediately chases the mother away, for she can easily eat her own offspring. After eliminating threats, the father of the family will begin to fertilize eggs and go in search of a new pregnant female. On average, the male makes 2 to 3 such trips. Then comes the incubation period, during which the male actively swishes the nest with pectoral fins, directing a powerful stream of water in its direction. Thanks to this, these small ones always have enough oxygen and successfully develop. Under this sensitive control, the cubs will be close to the father, not only before they've hatched, but also for the first time after it. If one tries to escape, the male will catch up with it, swallow it, and spit the sly one back into the house. The length you have to go for the safety of the offspring. That's about it. Write in the comments what case surprised you most of all. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel.